We've got 100 acres it is that we're developing. And now the other key crucial part of this is how much of this land is going to be the streets, the retention ponds, the entrance, the community center, and all these other things that we're going to have in this neighborhood here. How much does that actually make up out of this 100 acres? And we're going to go with 45%. Let's say it comes out to be about 45% for streets. You got parks, sewers, we'll just put etc. For all those things it is that we can't build a house on top of. We can't build a house on top of the park, on top of the community center. We can't build a house outside the gate. They're probably buying this neighborhood because they want the gate. We can't build a house on top of the middle of the street. Can't build a house on the retention pond. So this is all, this 45% that's unusable. Now, getting down to the numbers, and there's a lot of ways it is you could do this math. This math is really easy because it's very forgiving. You can mix up these steps almost in any order and you should still come up with the right answer, the same answer, because these are pretty much equivalent type of calculations that we're doing here. But one of the things I like to start out with is, okay, let's figure out what we could actually work with. Now 45%, that's how much we have that's unusable. So if we have 100% total, if this whole 100 acres is 100%, 45% we can't use, and then 55% is what we're left with that is buildable or dividable or whatever we want to call it. We have 55% of this 100 acres that's buildable. Now I picked that 100 number to make this easy here. So we've got a nice easy calculation here that we've got 45 acres that we can't use and 55 acres that we can use. So now instead of 100 acres, we're dealing just with 55 acres. So we've got 55 acres of land. Now the next portion we're going to be dealing with here is finding this out in square feet. So our minimum lot size is 10,000 square feet. And we've got 55 acres. We want to see how many 10,000 square foot lots we could fit into this 55 acres. So what we need now is to convert this from acres into square feet. And this is a really good number just to know in general when you're out there practicing real estate, because it's I mean, you could Google it. I mean, we take for granted these little smartphones and how easily we could find information, but this one makes it a little bit quicker if you remember it off the top of your head, and that's the 43,560. And there's a bunch of little tricks you might have to remember. 43,560, maybe 4 and 3 is 7, 5 and 6 is 11, you add a 0. I don't really like that one. 4,356 and 0. Maybe that's memorable for you. It doesn't really work for much for me. And so the way that I learned this, and maybe it's not the most politically correct way, but it's a funny little thing that will stick in your head, is 4 old ladies going 35 in a 60. So we've got 4 snowbirds driving back to their snowbird land, leaving Florida because it's getting too hot. So the 4 ladies are going 35 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour zone. That's the 43,560. That's the way I was taught this, and it kind of always sticks because you could envision the 4 little old ladies driving their car and little golden girls driving around 35 in a 60. So that's our square feet in an acre. That's how many square feet we have in 1 acre. But we're dealing with 55 acres here. So we need to take this 43,560 that's 1 acre and multiply it 55 times. 43,560 55 times, which when we whip out our handy dandy calculator to do that math, we've got 43,560 times 55. We end up with 2,395,800 square feet. So that's how much we have here that's actually buildable. 2,395,800 square feet that we could develop into lots. The other 45 acres we're dealing with here, that's going to be our streets, our park, our sewers, our retention ponds, our entrance, and all this other stuff that we have in our 100 acres here. But now we're still left with almost 2.4 million square feet to build on. So we could fit quite a bit of lots in here. And so our next step in all this is going to be taking our minimum lot requirement, and we want to see how many times this 10,000 square feet will fit into this 2,395,800 square feet. So we're just gonna divide that by 10,000 square feet. So 2,395,800 divided by 10,000 gives us 239. Well, I like how this came out here. I'll explain why. 239.58. So 239.58 lots. 239.58. Now we've got to do something about that 0.58, because how do we have 0.58 of a lot? Well, the thing is, we can't. And if we have any lot in this plan that we're submitting to the local planning agency that's less than 10,000 square feet, they're gonna reject us. They're gonna disapprove us because the lots don't meet that minimum lot size. These lots all have to be at a minimum 10,000 square feet. They could be bigger than that, but at a minimum they must be at least 10,000 square feet. Otherwise, you're gonna automatically get rejected because you're not in compliance with the zoning ordinances. Now, maybe you could apply for some sort of exception to these rules, maybe a special exception, maybe a variance or something like that. But when you're developing out a big neighborhood like this, maybe not. And really the trick here, even though normal rounding rules, this is where we're gonna go a little different than what normal rounding rules would tell you. Normal rounding rules would tell you that because this is 0.5 or higher, you're gonna round up, but you're not gonna do that with zoning. Because what this is telling us here is that we can have 239 10,000 square foot lots, and just a little bit more than half, we have another 5,800 square feet left over. Well, we can't make a 5,800 square foot lot, so we're only gonna have 239 lots. So really the trick is, it's really simple and easy to remember. It's against rounding rules, but the special rounding rules that apply for your number of lots here is you always round down. Because even if it were 239.99, that's not 10,000. That's 9,900 square feet, not 10,000 square feet. So again, you'd be disapproved even if you're just off by that 100 square feet for the minimum lot size. So you'd have to round down, and now you have that extra space that you could disperse and distribute elsewhere. But overall, we've got 239 lots. So obviously my drawing here is not to scale with these 100 acres that we've got here. We'd probably have to lay out these roads. They're probably a little big for this being 100 acres. Again, this is not drawn to scale, but we could fit 239 lots in here and meet this 10,000 square foot minimum lot requirement while still maintaining 45% of this to be able to be for streets, for the park, for the retention ponds, for the entrance, and all these other things it is we might be building into these 100 acres.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor.